The NHL's offseason rumor mill is churning. And on today's show, we will talk about the gossip that could change the Central Division dynamics in the Nashville Predators' favor.
You're Locked On Predators, your daily podcast on the Nashville Predators, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Happy Wednesday, everyone. Welcome to the Locked On Predators podcast. Thanks so much for making us your first listen of the day. We are, of course, your free daily Nashville Predators podcast. We are a part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Want to kick off this Wednesday episode the way we kick off all of our episodes, and that is with an enthusiastic shout out to our Locked On Predators insiders and our everydayers who tune in to talk Nashville Predators hockey with us. I'm Ann Kimmel. I am a writer and co-host with Penalty Box Radio, and friends, I have a partner in crime.
You do. I'm Emma Lingan, and I'm the Predators site editor and reporter for the Hockey News.
Well, today, Emma and I are putting on our 8th grade girl hats. We are talking gossip, friends. There is so much tea, so little time swirling around the NHL right now. Even though the Stanley Cup finals are still going on, there is plenty of chatter that could really change the dynamics in the Central Division next season. We're going to talk about how some of those rumors potentially coming to fruition could help Nashville in a very, very tough Central Division. Before we dive into all of that discussion, we do want to let you know today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. All right, Emma, we just got to start with the elephant in the room. We're just going to ask a general question. I'm just going to throw it out here and let's discuss. Independent of whatever else happens in the Central Division, do you think there is anything, and we don't even have to get into the specifics because those are podcasts for another day, but do you think there is anything that Nashville is going to do this offseason that, independent of the other Central Division teams, is going to dramatically change Nashville's outcome next season?
No. I also think that there is no independent of the rest of the division. I think that in this division, probably more so than any other, as we've learned by now the hard way.
Oh, yeah.
It's just a juggernaut. And I think that there's, as far as like doing things to change the outcome, if last off season didn't do it, then it's hard to imagine. Maybe this is too like existential, but maybe if it's like by doing nothing, that is what's going to change their outcome. I don't need to get all like, existential on you, but I just feel like at this point, what Nashville does not need is another like massive, like seismic roster shift. Like the one that we saw last year, because clearly it did not go well for them.
Yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat when I think about Nashville and kind of changing the season, changing the story. And you hear a lot of people online say Barry Trotz is going to run it back and expect a different result, and that's insanity. And I understand that argument, but I think there is a lot of nuance to what happened last season in Nashville. And you and I talked about this during the season, the old saying, if you hear hoofbeats, think horses. Last season was a herd of zebras, you all. Last season,
the reference now with the zebra in Nashville.
Yes. Okay. Pivot. Go with us on this ride, friends. If you are not from Nashville, you may have missed it, even though it went national. A zebra was on the loose. For like how long? Like almost
a week.
I was going to say it was like a week.
And it was someone's pet. I assumed when I saw like loose zebra, I was like, well, obviously it escaped from some sort of zoo or I don't know, traveling circus. Is that a thing anymore? I don't know. But I'm like, I assumed it escaped from a zoo. It's like, no, this is someone's pet. And it like escaped from their backyard. And
what
they
kind
had, they had to airlift it. I'm like,
Did you see the video of him? He was just like, this is so humiliating.
Yes. I'm like, I thought, I mean, not that I know anything about, how to capture a zebra. We did not go over that in college, but I think that I would have thought like tranquilizer dart to like, sedate
Mhm.
it and then get it into like a truck or a more normal mode of transport. But at the same time, I was like, well, that would probably be quite heavy to try to move a
It
zebra.
was it was alarming to watch because I was way too wrapped up in this story, friends. But they were going to tranquilize it, but then they lured it into the net with alfalfa. But I'm like, how do you situate it? Because I'm sorry, you can't just net and haul via air a zebra or really anything else. So it was fascinating. My favorite thing, though, is that they renamed him Ed after Ed Hockley, the NHL referee that I loved. I used to follow Ed Hockley's biceps on social media because he just was ripped. Love that.
I also just like how far did they airlift him? Like how long
Yeah.
was this little joyride in the air? Like
And yes, can you
I,
imagine that zebra's like, I'm hungry. I'm tired. I have no idea where I'm at. And this is how it ends.
he probably thinks he's having some kind of like either psychotic break or just like acid trip. Just like, I'm flying. Like
What was in that alfalfa? What was in that alfalfa?
hey, that's
Oh
how
my
we felt
goodness.
after watching the Nashville Predators this season.
What
You know,
was in that alfalfa, you all? Like, you are not wrong.
what the flag nog?
What the flag nog? I mean, we're going to pivot back to hockey, but also shout out to Ed the Zebra. We love you. He's the patron saint, along with Mark Del Gaizo, of this podcast now. But so many things went wrong for Nashville last season. And so I do think that there is an element of it could be different. Now, will it be different enough? That's where the Central Division comes in. If it was another division, perhaps it would be different enough. I don't know. I don't know that Nashville in the Central can do enough. Now we know Barry Trotz is going to do something. He's talked about I got to shore up the defense because friends, you have to have a defense that can contain like Kirill Kaprizov and Nathan MacKinnon and Kyle Connor and Mikko Rantanen. Like Nashville's defense has to get better. And that we haven't even dug into the fact that Nashville should, I don't know, score some goals. Like that's not, I mean, that's just what they have to do defensively to be competitive. Offensively, that's a whole nother ball game. It's so interesting to me, and I wrestle with this when I can't turn off my hockey mind. I wrestle with how different can next season be for the Nashville Predators? Because I agree with you. Last season, that was your big splash off season, and you were not going to be able to financially replicate that. So, what can they do, and can it be different? I think there's a lot of nuance to it. But again, like you said, you can talk about the Nashville Predators in a vacuum and the Nashville Predators improving. But what good does that do you when you are the Nashville Predators in the Central Division? That becomes a whole different ballgame, friends. Oh, dear God, it could be another 84 years with Ed Hockley the Zebra, you all. Oh, hashtag pray for Emma and Ann and Ed the Zebra. There are, of course, plenty of wild rumors, friends, swirling around that could shake up the Central Division next season. Coming up, we're going to talk about the latest tidbit regarding the Dallas Stars. Oh, friends, this one has Emma and I going, is that an AI mistake? We're going to tell you how a potential Jason Robertson move could reshape the Central. Today's episode is brought to you by our great friends at Indeed. You just realized your business needed to hire someone yesterday. How can you find those amazing candidates fast? It's easy. You just use Indeed. When it comes to hiring, Indeed is all you need. Stop struggling to get your job post seen on other sites. Indeed's sponsored jobs put your post at the top of the page to help you reach the right candidates faster. If your business is in that spot where you need the right hire, you know know the pressure's on, and every day without the right person becomes a setback. That is exactly when Indeed sponsored jobs come in handy. They make sure your post is seen by the right candidates right now. Right now, you can speed up your hiring process with a $75 sponsored job credit. Just go to indeed.com/lockedon right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring? Indeed is all you need. Emma and I are talking zebras and rumors. Friends, this is the podcast we've been waiting to make our whole lives. But one rumor, Emma, I got to tell you. I got to tell you about this. Now, we have heard some rumblings. We've heard some rumblings, and we're going to zone in right now on the Dallas Stars. They're in a bit of a pickle, friends. And if the rumors are true, they may be looking at a very interesting way to manage their financials, as Hamilton would say. The Stars, they only have right around $5 million in cap space. They want to re-sign Jamie Benn. We are hearing that they are thinking about re-signing Matt Duchene. And then here's the one that I was like, I'm sorry, say what? They have got to re-sign Mikael Granlund. So the idea floating out there has been, let's trade Jason Robertson in his $7.75 million contract. He's got one more year left. Now, two different conversations, but when they came together on the interwebs yesterday, Emma, I was like, I'm going to need a minute, because the re-signing of a couple of players that included Mikael Granlund equaled we should trade Jason Robertson. And I just needed a minute. And I think we need to look at the fact that, like, maybe these are two separate things that got put into a compound sentence, because what? Jason Robertson, of course, 25-year-old winger. He played 82 games last season, 35 goals, 80 freaking points. Jason Robertson, who still gets carded going into a bar. Third best on the team behind Mikko Rantanen, who, of course, scored plenty of his points with Colorado and then Carolina before landing in Dallas. And then he was also behind Matt Duchene, who the Nashville Predators paid a lot of money to not score here in Nashville. So, Emma, you look at the talk about moving Jason Robertson, and kind of the logistics are, if you've got Mikko Rantanen and you've got Jason Robertson with this big contract, maybe this is a player that you can move. How do you put all of this together? And riddle me this. Signing Mikael Granlund means trading Jason Robertson? Like, surely that's not the logic, right?
Yeah, I mean, all of the Robertson trade chatter is not at all surprising, considering just the facts of the situation, that he is 25 years old, like you said, heading into the last year of his contract. He will be an RFA at the end of that contract, but still, it's like that he's coming off a career year, he did really well, and so that boosts his trade value. So with any player, that's when a guy fits all of those bills, people automatically start saying, "Oh, trade chip perhaps." But, a lot of time that's just noise, and that's people like us who are looking for things to talk about during the off season. So it's like you hear it, but it's like, I don't know. I mean, probably not, right? And then Elliot Friedman said it, that they were not, that they're like, to be clear, no one is saying the Dallas
one.
Well, no one is saying the Dallas Stars are actively shopping Jason Robertson. Like, all right, who wants him? Like, I think it's more so that they're like, they could be open if they get an offer that they like. They could be open to trading him. And I think that, and when Elliot said that, I was like, oh, so this might be more than just chatter, because Elliot doesn't just say things. And if he does, he always couches it as like, this is just me speculating. But he didn't do that. And so there was that. And then where he lost me, because I was like, Jason Robertson, great player, young, dynamic goal scorer, big guy. He, like, just really well liked. around the league. And he's, he's going to be an RFA after this year. So you still get some semblance of, control over him as the team that has him. So I'm like, that all makes sense. Those are the kind of guys that people love to speculate about and love to talk about. Oh, maybe trading him. And then where he completely lost me was
Off
when
the
he
rails.
added they could trade Jason Robertson to make room to re-sign Mikael Granlund. And I was like, I'm sorry, what?
Record scratch. Total record scratch, friends.
Now, listen, here's what's real. Mikael Granlund was very clutch for them in the playoffs. Came up big when they needed him to. And that's important. I also think that he is, he is really good center depth, and that's what every team is looking for, is depth down the middle. And this is a team that's trying to contend again. They don't have a coach right now, but they're still trying to run it back with what they have. You mentioned Mikko Rantanen. They've also got Wyatt Johnston signed to that extension too. That's going to be huge for them. On the back end, they've got Thomas Harley. I think they could stand to, and Esa Lindell. I think beyond that, they could probably stand to, and Miro Heiskanen, of course, and Rupe Hintz, and all of the, the big names there are still going to be there. But I just think that, like, really, of all the guys, that's who you want to prioritize re-signing.
Like I have to say, it was a record scratch moment. Now, not to take away from, like you said, Mikael Granlund, great in the postseason. He is coming off of two of his best seasons ever between Pittsburgh and San Jose, and then going on to Dallas. So he is playing very, very well. He's 33 years old. So what this tells me is Dallas is like, no, we're in it. But what's beautiful is you can also see Dallas is like, we're in it now, but they've also got structure and some youth where they are going to be in it for a little bit longer, where Nashville's like in the nebulous area of the, now and not yet. But yeah, that was a record scratch moment to say, yeah, well, Robertson may have to go. The young 25-year-old whippersnapper who could score 80 points might have to go because Mikael Granlund needs a contract.
Well, because those are the kinds of conversations like we had the other day when we were talking about Minnesota with Marco Rossi. It's like, well, they'd love to keep Marco Rossi. He may have to go because they got to make room for Kirill Kaprizov. That makes sense. That one makes sense. Kirill Kaprizov is a guy that you make room for. I don't know that Mikael Granlund is. I mean, again, to your point, he's 33 years old. This is them saying we're committed. It's a little bit of a very light version of like what Florida has done for the last year. It's like going all in, any piece that's available that, like, we're going to grab them and we're going to full send this right now. I think that Granlund is a more like safe version of that. I would just, if there's a team out there, because again, when centers hit the open market, teams will overpay for them. It's the price of doing business. For example, someone is going to overpay for Sam Bennett this summer. It's just how it goes. Like, for what he is, he's a fantastic playoff performer, 50-point guy during the regular season. Someone's going to overpay for what he is. And that's just going to happen with Granlund. I don't think the Dallas Stars should overpay for Granlund. They should absolutely not be getting in any sort of bidding war. If he does decide, because remember when Granlund was with Nashville, he decided to test the open market when he hit free agency and then ended up re-signing here.
Right.
So like, if it's a situation like that, I say, let him go. Like, God go with you, sir. But if they can get him on like a very team friendly deal, then sure. But I don't know. It would objectively be hilarious, though, if the Predators continue to get stomped by a team with Matt Duchene and Mikael Granlund.
It's just fun every time, friends.
Hey, you know what? The Preds can just trade for Jason Robertson now, since apparently he's available. And
I mean,
and just,
go
great.
from there. I would love Jason Robertson. I think he'd be fun. I'm having this moment as we're talking about this, and I'm like talking about Minnesota, talking about Dallas, saying like, hey, we've got these superstars that we really need to sign, and we've got these players that are really, really great, but we're probably going to have to lose them. Can you imagine how amazing that would be?
What's that like?
I can't even imagine. Under what scenario could we mad lib this into the Nashville Predators? Like,
I don't even know.
I
There's
can't
no
even
one.
imagine.
There's no one that I'm like that excited about who's not already locked up long term. And even some of those guys, I'm like, it
Yeah,
could go.
and well, and like you're like, well, you lose a depth piece, and look, I just purely personal, like love some of these players, enjoy talking with them in the locker room, like what they bring to the ice. But we're not worried about losing a Jason Robertson because Nashville doesn't have a Jason Robertson. You all.
The fact that
Oh my gosh.
not only does Dallas have a Jason Robertson, but they have so much depth that they have a Jason Robertson who is expendable to them. And
Can you
that's the hard part.
imagine? I can't, like, this. Take a moment, friends, and let's just feel the pain together because it sounds amazing. We would not know. We would not know. Coming up, we're going to talk about the downside of Jason Robertson moving on from Dallas and look around the Central Division at a couple other teams that may be making it harder for Nashville next season. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time, friends. We know it. There is nothing like playoff hockey. The energy, the rivalries, the nonstop action, the penalty minutes. With the Stanley Cup Finals heating up, there's never been a better time to see it live, and Game Time makes getting in the building fast and affordable. Game Time gives you last-minute ticket deals, zone deals for deep discounts, panoramic seat views, and all-in pricing with no hidden fees. Plus, ticket prices often drop the closer you get to puck drop, so you can score big without overpaying. Game Time also backs every order with their ticket coverage guarantee, covering cancellations, job loss, and even offering 24-hour returns. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. All right, Emma, here's what I want to say about the Jason Robertson situation. Trade him outside of the Central if you're going to trade him. Either he can come to Nashville or you need to send him away because Nashville needs the Central Division to get a little bit easier because, like we talked about earlier, I'm not sure exponentially how much better Nashville is going to get. So really what we're looking for are some Central Division teams to make bad moves in the offseason. Maybe trading Jason Robertson would be one of those. When we look at the top teams last season, Emma, in the Central Division, Winnipeg, of course, Dallas, we're talking about Colorado, Minnesota Wild, St. Louis Blues, these teams. Do you see any of these teams just naturally kind of dropping off significantly next season?
No, I mean, I don't know if anything, there's teams not on that list or a team not on that list, Utah, who I see
Say it.
taking a big step forward next season.
Yes. Yes.
Chicago, not yet, but they're working on something there. Like they in a couple years, yes, maybe not right now. But like if anything, it's just going to keep getting harder. So there's no one who I see automatically dropping off. Like I mean, Colorado is Colorado. Winnipeg was just the ultimate sure this season. Like no one expected them to be what they were, but they were dominant all season. And you have Connor Hellebuck. That's a great equalizer no matter what. And then, Dallas is Dallas. St. Louis look like they're really,
Wow, they were incredible down the stretch in the playoffs. I thought they looked fabulous.
if anything, I think like St. Louis, not that, oh, yes, I definitely think they're going to take a step back, but it's like of the teams that you just listed, they would maybe be the one that would be the least surprising to see take a step back, only because that whole run at the end was kind of like the Predators
Yes.
2 seasons ago, where it's like, oh, well, that worked out nicely. We didn't really plan for that, but sure. Like, and I think St. Louis is, they've kind of been stuck in that mushy middle for a while where it's like, we're not going to rebuild, but we're not contending. So what are we? And I think that it's just like, again, maybe not as surprising if they dropped off, but I wouldn't say I'm expecting them to by any means.
Yeah. The Central Division, you talk about moves like a Jason Robertson or, any sort of trade moves or players who might not get re-signed or, I don't think enough of that can happen with the top teams that Nashville has to be competitive with to make much of a difference. And that is scary. And you mentioned a team, Utah, the Mammoth, not Mammoths. Even though, okay, timeout. We're taking a zebra here. We're going to take a zebra curve here. They say, I read an article where they have multiple mammoth bones. So I'm like, why isn't it not the Utah Mammoths? Wasn't like they found just one mammoth. Anyway, these are the
I don't
things
know. I
we
mean,
wonder about.
linguistically, it's kind of hard to say.
Oh, you're
Mammoth.
not wrong. Mammoth.
It's a little bit like you trying to say Svechkov the other
Without
day.
my retainer in. It was a retake. That was bad. Yeah. But Utah, I am telling you, Utah is hungry and they are scary because Nashville needs some teams to take step back. So, and Nashville has to take steps forward if they want to be competitive next season. Utah is coming for it. They are very upfront. They're like, look, we are going to be aggressive. They're going to be aggressive this offseason. They're going to take my guy. I think they might take Brady Martin, my farm guy. Not happy about that. God go with you to the mammoth, if that's how it goes down. They also just have that good balance, like Dallas does, of experience and well-developed young players. I'm telling you, I think Utah is going to insert themselves into the craw of the Nashville Predators and the Central Division next season. And Nashville has to find a way to get significantly better with basically the roster we saw last season. And again, running it back, doing the same thing over again, it's going to turn out the same way. It might not, but it might. Like, honestly, if I was forced to make a prediction about what Nashville was going to do next season, I would just pull a fainting goat so I wouldn't have to say anything. Because what do you do?
Pull and add the zebra, eat the alfalfa, and just fly away.
Just
That's
fly away.
kind of where I'm
can't.
at right now with life in general. Just
Yeah.
someone just airlift me to an undisclosed location.
Yeah. Feed me and airlift me. Don't let me ask any questions. Because I mean, and here's the thing that is so like a little bit jarring to me is that I really felt like we had a pretty good idea in training camp last season of what last season should have looked like. And it didn't, friends, one of these things was not at all like the other. So it's very hard. I don't think we're going to have any idea about where Nashville really is until we are 5-10 games into the season. And that should be scary to everybody, especially looking around the Central Division when you have teams in win now mode who are saying, you know what, if we have to get rid of an 80-point 25-year-old scorer, so be it. Again, Emma, can you even imagine?
I can't.
That is something to chew on, and not in the good way, friends. That's something to chew on that I don't know when Nashville was ever in that position. Yeah. Okay. Well, on that
note,
on that sour alfalfa note, oh my gosh, really? Well, as we used to say when my children were little, yucca cucka.
Anne's having an existential crisis in real time on
In
the
real time with
podcast
you
right
all. I'm just like, I'm gonna need to log off and take some time in the corner
now.
because yeah, we're not there, friends. We're gonna see what Barry Trotz does. Of course, he's got the draft coming up, 5th overall pick. Something can be done there. That's going to be a little bit longer term. What's he going to do in the off season? What moves is he going to make? Jason Robertson, do you like country music and hot chicken? I don't know. We're gonna sit in our feels
Do you
tonight.
like winning? Because you probably won't do a lot of that here.
But the
We don't do
chicken
that
is
here.
great.
Yes.
Did we mention the chicken is great?
We have a zebra.
We have a zebra. Come on, Jason. Oh, you all. I really do need a moment. I need a moment. So we're going to take a moment, friends. I hope this did not ruin your Wednesday. Life is good.
Hey, and cheer up because tomorrow is the best day of the week. It's
It's
Thursday.
almost Thursday. What could be better? Nothing. Not even Friday. Oh gosh. Emma, before we log off, and I do have the breakdown that I'm on the verge of, the hockey breakdown, will you let everyone know where they can find you and your work and your just emotional stability?
Well, if you find my emotional stability, let me know where you find it. Because I would love to know. But you can find me on social media at Emma_Lingan, and you can find my work at the Hockey News.
You can find me on social media. I think maybe I won't tweet for a minute, but you can look at AnnK_Mama on Ice. You can find my work with Penalty Box Radio. You can find Ed the Zebra back home with his family. We'll focus on that as we wrap up this episode. Thanks so much for making us your first listen of the day. We're going to be back tomorrow, Thursday, with an all new episode, friends. We'll see you then.